Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing abrupt climate change. And one of the effects of abrupt climate change, or just climate change in general, is stronger storms, more moisture in the air, more water vapor, more warmer ocean water. All of these factors contribute to making bigger, more frequent, more violent storms, more rain as a result of these larger storms. This has been documented as an effect of climate change. I was watching watching another kind of conspiratorial site, and this guy was just going on about they're manufacturing these storms. And I was just like, come on, man. If they're manufacturing these storms, what is the point? What's the purpose? I don't know. Is it to make money? I don't know. That's the only reason I can see why the powers that be might want to manufacture a bunch of storms and destroy a bunch of infrastructure. And I don't know. But it just, the science tells us this is what will happen. The science tells us this is what can happen. The science tells us this is what we can expect, and this is what we're seeing. So it's just very simple cause and effect. So let's look at Hurricane Lane, which is now a Category 3 Hurricane Lane. This is from Fox News. Hurricane Lane threatens Hawaii as Category 3 storm. Campers trapped in valley, officials say. As Hurricane Lane barrels toward the Hawaiian Islands, drenching parts of the state with rain, officials said Thursday they received a call about 2 campers stranded in a valley on the Big Island. The pair reported being stuck in Waipaio Valley on the northern coast of the island of Hawaii. Or is it Waipio? I guess that's it. Known as the Big Island. On Wednesday, Hawaii County Managing Director Will Okabe said, severe conditions, including landslides and flooded roadways, have made it unsafe for emergency response workers to launch a search for the campers, Okabe said, adding that they've been unable to get in touch with them. We can't go in because of the roads. There's a river of water down there. Officials also said Thursday the storm was downgraded to a Category 3, still considered a major hurricane with maximum sustained winds between 111 and 129 miles per hour. Hurricane Lane, situated about 260 miles south of Honolulu, has maximum sustained winds of 125 miles per hour, according to a 8 p.m. ET update, Eastern Time update from the National Weather Service's Central Pacific Hurricane Center. The slow-moving storm is headed north-northwest at 6 p.m. And that is also an effect of climate change. Weather patterns become slower and or stuck, quote unquote. They move extremely slow, bringing more damage along with them. Hurricane warnings remain in effect for Oahu, Maui County, and Hawaii County, with a hurricane watch issued for Kauai County, CPHC said. On the forecast track, the center of Lane will move over or dangerously close to portions of the main Hawaiian Islands later today through Friday, Thursday's update said. Some weakening is forecast during the next 48 hours, but Lane is expected to remain a hurricane as it draws closer to the islands. The storm has dumped nearly 20 inches of rain on parts of the Big Island so far, the update said, with excessive rain to continue into the week over Hawaii. The heavy rainfall also brings with it the possibility of life-threatening flash flooding and landslides. Road closures were reported by the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency on Twitter, which urged residents to stay off the roads unless absolutely necessary. A reported landslide triggered the closure of both lanes of Highway 19 at mile 13, the agency tweeted, citing the Hawaii Police Department. And we have a regular viewer who lives on Oahu, so hope you are staying safe, and looks like you're stocked in with supplies, and hopefully you will be bypassed by this. So keep us updated, Kim, if you can. Moving on to, this is from insider.com, or this is insider.com. The world's largest shipping company is trialing an Arctic route, and it's a worrying sign for the future of the planet. A Danish vessel is said to become the first container ship to use the Northern Sea route, which passes between the Arctic and Russia. What could go wrong? A first container ship to tackle an Arctic route along Russia's north coast has left the Russian port of Vladivostok as it trials a journey made easier by global warming. The Venta Maersk, which is carrying 3,600 containers, is making a trial passage through the Northern Sea route, departing from eastern Russia and making port in St. Petersburg by late September. There's no date on this article. Oh, 8 hours ago. It will collect data as part of an effort to test the economic viability of the route. The journey could be up to 14 days faster than the more established southern route through the Indian Ocean and the Suez Canal. The 42,000-ton Venta Maersk, carrying a shipment of frozen fish and other goods, is a new ice-class vessel. It is designed to sail in colder seas and has a stronger hull and protected rudders. The trial passage will enable us to explore the operational feasibility of container shipping through the Northern Sea route and to collect data, Maersk said, underlining that this is a one-off trial designed to explore an unknown route for container shipping and to collect scientific data. The route was once impossible due to ice, but higher Arctic temperatures combined with advances in shipping have made it more viable. Yay, advances in shipping. All right, go. In January this year, Arctic sea ice hit a record low, and in March, an extreme event was declared. So it couldn't be because of that. The sea ice in the Bering Strait, I mean, do you need advances in shipping if there's, little tiny cubes of ice in the Arctic, little cocktail cubes? The sea ice in the Bering Strait reaches its lowest level in recorded history as temperatures 30 C above average were recorded. 30 C above average. According to figures from National Snow and Ice Data Center in Colorado, sea ice cover this winter was less than a third of what it was 5 years ago. The route has seen growing marine traffic this summer, with smaller ships carrying cargoes of gas and oil already making the journey regularly. Soon Scheller of Greenpeace Nordic told The Independent he was aware of companies looking at the viability of Arctic shipping and said the change would be environmentally damaging in a number of ways. If these ships were to have an accident, then heavy fuel oil in the marine environment is bad. It's even worse in an Arctic environment. The cold water temperatures slow or halt the natural breakdown of the oil, so it remains in marine environments for a much longer period of time, Scheller said. But Maersk stressed that the route was just a test. Currently, we do not see this Northern Sea route as a commercial alternative to our existing network, which is defined by our customers' demand, trading patterns, and population centers, Maersk said in a statement. Moving on to an article with a hilarious, if it weren't so enraging, this is from AP News. Big Oil asks government to protect it from climate change. Port Arthur, Texas, as the nation plans new defenses against the more powerful storms and higher tides expected from climate change, one project stands out: an ambitious proposal to build a nearly 60-mile spine of concrete seawalls, earthen barriers, floating gates, and steel levees on the Texas Gulf Coast. What could go wrong? Like other oceanfront projects, this one would protect homes, delicate ecosystems, and vital infrastructure, but it also has another priority: to shield some of the crown jewels of the petroleum industry, which is blamed for contributing to global warming and now wants the federal government to build safeguards against the consequences of it. The plan is focused on a stretch of coastline that runs from the Louisiana border to industrial enclaves south of Houston that are home to one of the world's largest concentrations of petrochemical facilities, including most of Texas's 30 refineries, which represent 30% of the nation's refining capacity. Texas is seeking at least $12 billion for the full coastal spine, with nearly all of it coming from public funds. Last month, the government fast-tracked an initial $3.9 billion for 3 separate, smaller storm barrier projects that would specifically protect oil facilities. That followed Hurricane Harvey, which roared ashore last August 25th and swamped Houston and parts of the coast, temporarily knocking out a quarter of the area's oil refining capacity and causing average gasoline prices to jump 28 cents a gallon nationwide. Many Republicans argue that the Texas oil projects belong at the top of Washington's spending list. Our overall economy, not only in Texas but in the entire country, is so much at risk from a high storm surge, said Matt Sebesta, a Republican who, as Brazoria County Judge, oversees a swath of Gulf Coast. But the idea of taxpayers around the country paying to protect refineries worth billions, and in a state where top politicians still dispute climate change's validity, doesn't sit well with some. The oil and gas industry is getting a free ride, said Brant Manchin, a member of the Sierra Club's executive committee in Houston. You don't hear the industry making a peep about paying for any of this, and why should they? There's all this push like, please, Senator Cornyn, please, Senator Cruz, we need money for this and that. Normally outspoken critics of federal spending, Texas Senators John Cornyn and Ted Cruz both backed using taxpayer funds to fortify the oil facilities' protections and the Texas coast. Cruz called it a tremendous step forward. All right, he called it a tremendous step forward. It's my best Ted Cruz impression. Federal, state, and local money is also bolstering defenses elsewhere, including on New York's Staten Island, around Atlantic City, New Jersey, and in other communities hammered by Superstorm Sandy in 2012. Construction in Texas could begin in several months on the 3 sections of storm barrier, while plans are still being finalized. Some dirt levees will be raised to about 17 feet high, and 6 miles of 19-foot tall flood walls will be built or strengthened around Port Arthur, the Texas-Louisiana border locale of pungent chemical smells and towering knots of steel pipes. And it is lovely. I've driven through Port Arthur countless, I can't even count how many times I've driven through Port Arthur. And by lovely, I mean disgusting. The town of 55,000 includes the Saudi-controlled Motiva oil refinery, the nation's largest, as well as refineries owned by oil giants Valero Energy Corp and Total SA. There are also almost a dozen petrochemical facilities. You're looking at a lot of people, a lot of homes, but really a lot of industry, said Steve Sherrill, an Army Corps of Engineer, resident engineer in Port Arthur, as he peered over a Gulf tributary lined with chunks of granite and metal gates, much of which is set to be reinforced. The second barrier project features around 25 miles of new levees and seawalls in nearby Orange County, where Chevron, DuPont, and other companies have facilities. The third would extend and heighten seawalls around Freeport, home to a Phillips 66 export terminal for liquefied natural gas and nearby refinery, as well as several chemical facilities. The proposal is approved for funding originally called for building more protections along larger swaths of the Texas coast, but they were scaled back and now deliberately focus on refineries. That was one of the main reasons we looked at some of those areas, said Tony Williams, Environmental Review Coordinator for the Texas Land Commissioner's Office. Oil and chemical companies also push for more protection for surrounding communities to shield their workforces. But not every property can be protected, said Sherry Willey, Deputy Chief of Project Management for the Army Corps of Engineers, Upper Texas District. Our regulations tell us what benefits we need to include, and they have to be national economic benefits, Willey said. Once work is completed on the 3 sections, they could eventually be integrated into a larger coastal spine system. In some places along Texas's 370-mile Gulf Coast, 18 feet is lost annually to erosion, threatening to suck more wetlands, roads, and buildings into the rising seas. Protecting a wide expanse will be expensive. After Harvey, a special Texas commission prepared a report seeking $61 billion from Congress to future-proof the state against such natural disasters. Without mentioning climate change, which scientists say will cause heavier rains and stronger storms. And also sea rise, which no wall will be able to withstand or keep out. Texas has not tapped its own rainy day fund of around $11 billion. According to federal rules, 35% of funds spent by the Army Corps of Engineers must be matched by local jurisdictions, and the GOP-controlled state legislature could help cover such costs. But such spending may be tough for many conservatives to swallow. Texas should be funding things like this itself, said Chris Edwards, an economist at the Libertarian Cato Institute. Texans are proud of their conservatism, but unfortunately, when decisions get made in Washington, that frugality goes out the door. Old hypocrite ass conservatives. State officials counter that protecting the oil facilities is a matter of national security. But of course, the effects of the next devastating storm could be felt nationwide. Representative Randy Weber, a fiercely conservative Republican from suburban Houston who has nonetheless authored legislation backing the coastal spine. Major oil companies did not return messages seeking comment on funding for the projects, but Susan Lemieux, Midstream Group Manager for the American Petroleum Institute, that's a title right there, Midstream Group Manager for the American Petroleum Institute, said the industry already pays into programs such as the Federal Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund and the Waterways Trust Fund, only to see Congress divert that money elsewhere. Do we want to pay again what we've already paid a tax without it getting used? I'd say the answer is no, she said. Phillips 66, another energy firm, spent money last year lobbying Congress on storm-related funding. Post-Harvey campaign finance records show, and Houston's Lyondell Chemical Corporation, PAC, lobbied for building a coastal spine. The coastal spine benefits more than just our industry, Bob Patel, CEO of Lyndon Bassel, one of the world's largest plastics, chemicals, and refining companies, said in March. It really needs to be a regional effort. Okay. Okie dokie. You know, if we weren't spending $700 billion plus on military, on a military budget, if we weren't losing $21 trillion into the Pentagon or the DoD, perhaps we might have plenty of money for stuff like this, or plenty of money to transition to a low carbon economy or transition to a low carbon society. But no, that's not important right now. What's important right now is 4% GDP increase or whatever. Keep on taking breaks in this video because I'm trying to do too many things at one time. Currently cooking, which is a bad idea to be Not even in the same room while you're cooking, but that's what I'm doing. I'm going to finish with this article from Desdemona Despair. Worst air quality on record as another surge of wildfire smoke hits Puget Sound. And breathing Seattle's air right now is like smoking 7 cigarettes. Ash and smoke are choking Seattle's air for the second week in a row as wildfires smolder in the Cascades and in British Columbia. As of Tuesday morning, the air quality index in Seattle was at 181, a rating classified as unhealthy. In parts of the city, the index rose to as high as 220, which is very unhealthy. Other parts of Puget Sound, like Port Angeles, Washington, 80 miles from Seattle, saw the AQI rise to 205. To put it in perspective, an AQI of 150 is roughly equal to smoking 7 cigarettes in a day. That means residents should avoid being outside and exerting themselves, particularly people with heart and lung problems, the elderly, and children. The air quality in Seattle this week has been worse than in Beijing, one of the world's most notoriously polluted cities. The flames from some of the massive wildfires that have raged from Alaska to New Mexico have destroyed homes and taken lives, but the smoke and ash in the air are one of the most insidious threats to health. Since nearly 2 million acres have burned in the United States this year from 109 fires in 12 states, ranging from Alaska to New Mexico, many regions are affected. Wildfires have ignited in the Pacific Northwest before, but usually Seattle's weather quenches flames and clears smoke pretty quickly. That the region has remained so hot and dry this year, allowing smoke to linger, is highly unusual. Andrew Winnicky, unless, of course, you're in the middle of abrupt climate change, then it's maybe, possibly, what we can expect. Andrew Winnicky, a spokesperson for the State Ecology Department's Air Quality Program, told Q13 Fox, but it also happened last year, which was also hot and dry. The trend is clear. You see the number of forest fires increasing, and so there's going to be wildfires, Winnicky said. There's going to be smoke. It's going to be somewhere. Did not quite see. This is not the whole article. Yep, pictures that look like. The smoke has wafted thousands of miles across the country to New York State and has shrouded many western states in haze. Here's a smoke forecast map of the United States as of Tuesday morning. Fires are a major source of air pollution in rural and urban areas. Fires from crop burning in India last year helped to make Delhi the most polluted city on earth. Though wildfires throw off particles of all shapes and sizes, the biggest health dangers come from the smallest ones, 2.5 microns or less in diameter. Known as PM 2.5, these particles penetrate deep into the airways, causing inflammation, asthma attacks, and cancer. Cancer. Generally, we think that the smaller it is, the more likely it is to make you sick. Jia Coco Liu, a postdoctoral researcher studying air quality at Johns Hopkins University, told Vox last year. In sufficient quantities, these tiny particles can make the air too dangerous to breathe. In Seattle, the concentrations on PM 2.5 reached 157 milligrams per cubic meter when pollution is very high. Over 37 micrograms per cubic meter, we start to see health consequences, Liu said. The best strategy is to avoid breathing the polluted air at all. Officials warn that not all air masks or filters can protect against the most dangerous particles. A one-strap paper mask will not protect your lungs from wildfire smoke. This is good to know. Wildfires are a completely natural event in many parts of the country. However, their growing scale and devastation stem largely from people, from igniting the fires themselves to building in high-risk areas. And as the smoke from these fires show, even people far away stand to suffer more as climate change raises average temperatures, drying out trees, and increasing the burned area from fires. More and more fallout from ye old climate change. I'm glad they at least mentioned climate change. Yeah, people are to blame, not just people standing around lighting fires or doing dumb things, but just people doing dumb things for the last, 100 years. That too. That is all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. I should be back tomorrow with another video. And thank you all once again for all your links and your comments and your discussion. I don't always get a chance to thank everybody for the links, but many or most or sometimes all of the links I read during a show or during a podcast are from you guys. So thank you so much for keeping me informed and keeping everybody else informed. I will, of course, link everything below. Until next time, peace.